It's called polyandry. One woman, several husbands. It's an unusual arrangement. Today, polyandry only persists in isolated villages in the Himalayas. When it was time for Sunita Kumari to wed, her family, like many in India, made arrangements. But they involved more than a dowry celebration. Sunita has not one husband, not two husbands, but three, all brothers. What must their life be like? It's called polyandry. One woman, several husbands. It's an unusual arrangement. Today, polyandry only persists in isolated villages in the Himalayas. When it was time for Sunita Kumari to wed, her family, like many in India, made arrangements. But they involved more than a dowry celebration. Sunita has not one husband, not two husbands, but three, all brothers. What must their life be like? Westerners might find the practice shocking, but for this community it works fine. One reason, sheer practicality. In the Himalayas, arable land is scarce, farms are tiny. If each generation divided each family's holdings, everyone would starve. Polyandry preserves the farm and the family's future. Unlike most men in India, husbands here handle domestic duties. They're willing to help with the cooking and childcare. In fraternal polyandry, a family picks a wife for its oldest son. The marriage can also include his younger brothers. They don't have to join in, but most do.
No one takes a decision regarding one's own marriage. Everyone at home sits down together, and then it's decided with the consent of everyone.
Polyandry also functions as a form of birth control. No matter how many husbands she has, a wife can get pregnant only so often. If each man were wed separately, the population here would explode. But what about sex, the forbidden core of the polyandry taboo? In truth, it's a matter of scheduling, and on the wife's part, forbearance.
Tolerance is very important. The wife has to understand everything. The older brother's nature, the younger brother's nature.
What about jealousy, that bane of even the most mundane marriage? If the wife is smart, she will take turns each night and sleep with all the brothers. It's not like the older brother wants it the whole time. Until recently, no one here much cared what the outside world thought. Isolation had preserved a way of life that had withered everywhere else. But a road now links the region to distant cities. And on roofs, once decorated only with prayer flags, satellite dishes sprout. This village has entered the modern world, whose images of romance stand in sharp contrast with polyandry. But polyandry here faces a bigger threat: education.
As more people are becoming more educated, we are also practicing family planning. If a father has only one son, there will be no question about the land. Therefore, common marriages will come to an end.
In 2, perhaps 3 generations, polyandry may vanish here. But for now, those who practice it find comfort in the familiar.
I myself feel that common marriage is very good. I feel like everyone should live like our family. Even if we do not have anything to eat or drink, we sit happily, we live peacefully.
Many different countries worldwide practice polygamy. 453 societies report occasional polygamy, and 588 societies support more frequent polygamy. Although many countries practice polygamy, it occurs only rarely in many societies.
Polygamy in Chinese culture has technically been outlawed during the Han Dynasty, which occurred during 200 BC. However, it has been a tradition among rich men to have many concubines along with their one wife, thereby practicing polygyny. In the minds of these women, many thought that it was an honor to be a concubine of a rich and powerful man. This practice shows us that the traditional Chinese culture does not value the choices of women, and most women are unable to make their own choices for life partners. Both polygamy and polygyny were practiced in ancient, medieval, and early times among many sects of the Hindu society. Hinduism during the pre-colonial period did not prohibit polygamy, and in fact prescribed rules and regulations to it, though it did not limit the number of spouses. Historically, kings routinely took concubines. According to Hindu law books, a woman has no independence of her own. She always needs the protection of her family or her husband so that she will not seduce men and bring shame to herself and her family. If her husband dies, she has the permission to marry his brother, strictly for the purposes of begetting children and finding shelter. This was mainly practiced among the warrior caste and the rich merchant caste. However, under modern Hindu marriage law, based on imperial British law, polygamy is forbidden for Hindus, Jains, and Sikhs. However, Muslims in India are allowed to have multiple wives. Marriage laws in India are dependent upon the religion of the subject in question.
Within Judaism, spiritual evidence indicates that polygamy among ancient Hebrews, though not extremely common, was not particularly unusual and was certainly not prohibited or discouraged. The Hebrew scriptures document approximately 40 polygamists, including such prominent figures as Abraham, Jacob, Esau, and David, with little or no remark on their polygamy as such. The Torah, Judaism's central text, includes a few specific regulations on the practice of polygamy, such as Exodus 21:10, which states that multiple marriages are not to diminish the status of first wives.
In Buddhist culture, the practice of polygamy, as we understand it, is generally discouraged. A man who takes a second wife is seen as straying from his path. His own desire or satisfaction are not seen as the important factors in considering how many partners he should have. Rather than a second wife, since marriage is seen as a secular institution in Buddhism, men occasionally are granted a spiritual consort to help them perform certain religious duties that their wife is not permitted to do. This new spiritual partner becomes necessary when men or women surpass the spiritual level of their spouse. The particulars of this practice are not well known or documented because of the secretive, private nature of such matters. It is known, however, that men and women both monogamously take part in this consort practice. The Torah teachings that inform polygamy in Judaism contain some latent messages and instances that arguably promote multiple marriages. As this is the basis for Christian Old Testament, it allows Christian fundamentalists to argue in favor of practicing polygamy. Liturgical texts make mention of allowing or promoting polygamy for the necessary begetting of children. However, more recently, an array of prominent Christian figures have spoken out against polygamy, claiming it to contradict the essence of the sacrament of marriage. The papacy declares polygamy is not in accord with the moral law, claiming that it directly negates the plan of God, which was revealed from the beginning because it was contrary to the equal personal dignity of men and women who in matrimony give themselves with a love that is total and therefore unique and exclusive. Some colonized African nations have used the Old Testament to argue in favor of practicing polygamy. To the chagrin of the Church, some have attempted to develop hybridized independent congregations that combine indigenous traditions with Christian ones.